At our family reunion, my brother suddenly stood up and said, "Mom and Dad gave me the house, so you have to move out." I was shocked, but then, the lawyer spoke up. "Actually, that's not what the contract says." My brother's face turned pale as he read the papers. I never thought he would do something like this to me. Sure, we were never close. He was always the favorite, the one with good grades, the one everyone praised. Me? I was just the quiet one. I did what I was supposed to but never got much attention. I wasn't a troublemaker, I just wasn't him. Still, I thought family mattered. I was wrong. It all started after our parents passed away. Mom had been sick for a long time, but Dad died suddenly from a heart attack. One moment, he was making coffee, and the next, he was gone. Losing both of them in 6 months was heartbreaking. At first, my brother, let's call him Mark, seemed fine. He acted normal, but there was something off. He had this smug look, like he knew something the rest of us didn't. I figured he was just handling grief in his own way. Then came the family reunion. Our reunions weren't small. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone came. We always had it at our parents' house, which, as far as I knew, still belonged to both of us. That's when Mark made his big announcement. We were all eating and talking when he tapped his glass with a fork to get everyone's attention. I expected him to say something nice about our parents. Instead, he said, "I just wanted to let everyone know, Mom and Dad left me the house." Silence. I thought I misheard him. Maybe he meant they left it to both of us, but no, he kept going. "I've already talked to a realtor, and I'm selling it, so, you have about a month to move out." My stomach dropped. Move out? From my own house? I laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke, but Mark just stood there, arms crossed, waiting for my reaction. The room was dead silent. Even my usually loud cousins were staring like this was a live drama show. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "What are you talking about?" My voice shook. Mark gave me a fake, pitying look. "I know this is hard, but Mom and Dad wanted me to have the house. You've been staying here for free, and that's not really fair, is it?" Free? I had been taking care of this house for years while he was off living his life. I paid the bills, handled repairs, everything. And now he wanted me out? I opened my mouth to argue, but before I could, someone cleared their throat. Everyone turned. It was my parents' lawyer, let's call him Mr. Carter. He was an older man, smart and no-nonsense. He had handled my parents' legal matters for years. Mark's confident look faded. Mr. Carter slowly walked into the room, adjusting his glasses and holding a folder. "Actually," he said calmly, "that's not what the contract says." Mark's face twitched. "What?" Mr. Carter sighed and opened the folder. "I planned to discuss this in private, but since we're all here, let's do it now." He pulled out the documents. "Your parents didn't leave the house to you alone. They left it to both of you, 50-50ths. Mark's mouth opened, but no words came out. "And there's more," Mr. Carter continued. "If one of you wants to sell, the other has the first right to buy their share. If you can't agree, then the house is sold, and the money is split equally." Relief washed over me. My parents had been fair. But Mark? He looked like he had been punched in the stomach. "That's not right," he stammered. Mr. Carter raised an eyebrow. "It's all here in writing. Your parents signed it. You did read the contract before making this announcement, didn't you?" Mark snatched the papers and flipped through them, his face getting paler with every page. Then he stopped. I saw the exact moment he realized he had no way out. His fists clenched, his jaw tightened. He had just embarrassed himself in front of the whole family. Everyone was watching, no one said a word, but I could feel their judgment. He had tried to kick me out of my own home. And now, he looked like a fool. I sat back down, my heart still pounding. I didn't know what would happen next. But one thing was certain, Mark had made a huge mistake. And I wasn't going to let it go. I wanted to scream, punch a wall, anything, but I stayed calm and listened to Mr. Carter. Slowly, the truth began to show through Mark's lies. Bank records proved that I was the one paying property taxes, maintenance fees, and medical bills, while Mark spent his money on vacations and cars. Neighbors and longtime friends confirmed it. Mark was hardly ever around, and I was the one keeping everything running. At the final hearing, Mark was sweating and out of control. The judge made his decision quickly. Mark's claim was denied. I legally kept the house. But that wasn't the end, because Mark still wanted to make my life miserable. The final betrayal happened when I thought he had finally given up. I hoped we could eventually go our separate ways and maybe reconnect later, but Mark had other plans. About a month after the court ruling, I came home one evening to find the front door wide open. My heart stopped as I stepped inside slowly, my hands shaking. The living room was a mess, furniture overturned, papers scattered, and drawers pulled open. Then I saw my parents' old safe in the office. This safe held all our childhood keepsakes, some family jewelry, and, most importantly, the deed to the house. The safe's door was hanging off its hinges. It had been forced open and everything inside was gone. I knew it was Mark. I called the police immediately, my chest tight with anger and fear. Moments later, I received a text from Mark. "You should have just sold the house to me. Now you'll see what happens when you're selfish." I gripped my phone so hard my fingers hurt. This wasn't over. Mark had just made a huge mistake. I looked at the text message, my heart pounding. This wasn't a small act of revenge. It was breaking in and theft. By the time the police arrived, I had searched the whole house. Mark had taken everything valuable from the safe, my parents' documents, my mom's jewelry, and even some of my savings bonds. But the worst part was that the deed to the house was gone. The officers took my statement, but I could tell they weren't in a hurry. One older officer with tired eyes said, "If you think your brother took it, you'll need to go through the proper legal channels. Family disputes like this get messy." Messy was an understatement. Right after they left, I called Mr. Carter. He answered on the first ring, and I could hear his disbelief. "Yeah," I said, running my hand through my hair. He took the deed, a pause, then let out a short, humorless laugh. "Well, then he's even dumber than I thought." "What do you mean, the original deed? That's just a piece of paper. The legal record is with the county. He could burn it, eat it, or frame it. None of that changes the fact that the house is yours." I exhaled. I hadn't thought of that, but before I could feel any relief, another thought hit me. Why did he take it then? I got my answer about the fraud 2 weeks later. I received an urgent call from Mr. Carter without any small talk. "Get to my office, now." I drove over, my mind racing. When I arrived, he was already by the door, holding a thick file. He slammed it onto the table. "Your brother tried to transfer the house into his name." My face went pale. What?" I managed to say. Mr. Carter continued. "He took the original deed from your parents and made a fake transfer document. He even forged their signatures, got a questionable notary stamp, and submitted it to the county recorder's office." I couldn't speak. Mr. Carter went on. "It didn't go through because the clerk noticed something was wrong. The signatures looked odd and the dates didn't match, so they flagged it for review." I sat down hard. Mark wasn't just lying. He was committing serious fraud. He thought he could get away with it. With Mr. Carter's help, I filed a criminal complaint against Mark. I gathered every piece of evidence I could, texts, emails, even voicemails where he threatened to ruin my life. The authorities didn't act as fast as I wanted, but when they finally did, it was quick. Mark was arrested for fraud, forgery, and attempted grand theft. When the police came to his apartment, my cousin later told me that Mark kept yelling, "This is a mistake. This is a family matter." As he was handcuffed, he spent 3 nights in jail before posting bail. I thought that would scare him into stopping. I was wrong. A week later, I received a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, but when I listened, my stomach twisted. It was Mark. "You think this is over? You think you've won? You have no idea what's coming." I didn't know what he meant, but I wasn't about to wait to find out. So I did something he never expected. I sold the house. I hadn't planned on it. This was my childhood home, the place I fought so hard to keep, but after everything, I realized I didn't want it anymore. It had become a battleground, a symbol of all the pain and betrayal Mark had caused. Most importantly, I knew selling it would completely cut him off. I worked quickly. I found a buyer within a month, an older couple looking for a quiet place to retire. As soon as the sale went through, I moved out. I made sure Mark's share of the money was used to pay for legal fees, restitution, and damages he caused. He ended up with almost nothing, and I finally felt free. It's been over a year now. Mark tried to contact me a few times, first with fake apologies, then with more threats. When he saw I wasn't interested, I blocked him on everything. Last I heard, he moved out of state and struggled to find work. Having felony charges on your record makes finding a job very hard. I still feel a bit sad about what might have been. We were supposed to be brothers, family, but Mark made his choices, and I made mine. I chose peace, and I've never looked back. Even after selling the house and cutting him off, Mark kept trying to drag me back into his problems. At first, he sent texts, first fake apologies, then angry rants when I didn't reply. Then he sent long emails, saying I ruined his life and stole his future. He even acted like he was the victim. But what he didn't know was that I wasn't done with him yet. While he was busy blaming me for his own mistakes, I was making sure he felt every consequence of his actions. The final blow came when Mark, always reckless, made a huge mistake. A few months after the house ordeal, Mr. Carter called me. "You're going to want to hear this." It turned out Mark had broken his bail conditions. He was supposed to stay in state while his case was active, but he skipped town without telling the court. When you jump bail, the legal system does not let that slide. A bench warrant was issued for his arrest, and now he wasn't just facing fraud charges, he was a fugitive. That was my chance. I had a friend in real estate who kept an eye on people who skipped town owing money. With a little digging, I found out that Mark was staying with an old college friend in another state at a fake address. I didn't hesitate, I anonymously tipped off the authorities. Mark's downfall came quickly. It didn't take long for the police to track him down. One night, while Mark was out drinking with friends, cops showed up at the bar. He barely had time to react before they handcuffed him. His bail was revoked, and this time there was no escape. He spent several months in jail waiting for trial. No fancy lawyers, no family help, just the cold truth that he had brought this on himself. When his case finally went to court, Mark lost. The judge sentenced him to 3 years in prison for fraud, forgery, and bail jumping. I wasn't there for the verdict, but a cousin later told me that Mark's face went completely blank when his sentence was read. He had always acted like he was untouchable. Now he was just another prisoner in an orange jumpsuit. That was the final end, the last time I heard from Mark. He even tried to reach out once from prison with a letter full of fake remorse, begging me to help him. I didn't even open it. I sent it back with return to sender. I had already won. I got my peace, and Mark finally learned that his actions have consequences. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more great stories. Don't forget to tap the notification bell, so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from you. See you next time, and take care.